Hey, welcome back to the channel, y'all. They call me Jake, just share spiritual knowledge from experience, which means just my perspective from a very long journey of figuring things out. From being a seeker of truth, of one's being, exploring consciousness, all that good stuff, and then using life experience from my years in emergency services and land navigation and working in nature and all that good stuff, man, just to all bring in one overall view of my perspective of creation and what all this mess is about. And I guess an easier way to say that would be, what is organic truth of self versus beliefs of self, what one has been led to believe. So, I guess, if someone was to say, who are you, or you wanted to introduce yourself or whatever, everybody goes to whatever the actor's narrative is. So, whatever your career is or your grade in education is, if it's ongoing, those things, and those are identities, fragments of self, little roles that we step into that we need to fulfill or play to earn a living or whatever. But people end up getting lost in those roles, and they don't know how to view themselves as anything but that role. Whether it's a mom-dad role or the employee or employer role, we get lost in that stuff, and then we forget what we are, what we're truly a part of, what this is truly all about. Because life is just so busy now and has so many demands that are on our shoulders. But it's the truth of oneself, just in what's going on to make all this creation work. It's simply the fact that an organic truth is that you are in an ongoing process of manifestation. From the time that you're conceived to the time you're born to the time the whole time throughout your growth cycles until the time you pass away, this is all an ongoing process of manifestation. It's taking place in the now. That's why being in the now is so vitally important for people to remember and to get back to. Because the majority of social programming has everyone placed either dwelling in the past or hyper-focused on the future, but not really grounded in right now. And it's a huge distraction and completely takes away from the processes that are ongoing in the now of manifestation. So it creates huge blockages and hindrances for people. And that's ultimately what it's going. What it boils down to when you're dealing with the organic truth of self. You are the manifestation of light. It's what the word human means, a hue of light being manifested. Light manifested. It's human. That's what a human is. But people have to wake up to that, have to remember that. All the belief systems, those are all fragments of an overall system of belief, an overall rule of governing. And that's ultimately what it comes down to more than anything else. It's how to govern oneself, and then how to scale that upward to a social dynamic, an entire field of governing across a populace. And when you follow certain rules of self-governing, you establish a beautiful foundation for self that's of peace, that will allow you to start producing the proper hormonal communication, the proper biochemical communication in your vessel that will allow for those enlightened states of consciousness. So, in other words, it's easier for you to engage your vessel, achieve higher states of self-awareness, of sensory perception of your now moment, when you can establish a good foundation. You don't have so many stresses and concerns and fears and things. That's what it comes down to. Because ultimately, the Christ is viewed as a person instead of the physiological process that takes place within the human vessel. That's all part of engaging and igniting the pineal gland, elevating those scale factors of dimethyltryptamine. I said that right, dimethyltryptamine, and adrenaline, and all of the hormones that are needed to elevate the sensory perception into the higher frequencies of your now moment. It might sound kind of woo-woo or just confusing, but ultimately, that's what it takes to achieve that ranking of Christ, which maintaining it is such a challenge after the awakening is achieved, after gaining that achievement of the anointed crown. It's the AM rush, man. Everybody's hauling ass. But here it goes. Yeah, it's just it's all about you, and that's what it was always supposed to be. Your ability to embody and maintain embodiment of the living light. The living light, the expanded version of you, the creative forces, and your ability to harness that and elevate your best, highest self in that knowing. That would be creating heaven on earth, which is where heaven once was, and which is where the stories originate from that people read about. It's never been off somewhere else. That was a transmutation of education to harness the minds of the populace to create a foundation of workforce so that the many will suffer through servitude while the few live it up. They just offer your mind treats of salvation, treats of joyous thoughts, and then slowly wrap invisible harnesses around everyone and dictates their behavior. So everyone behaves according to a social structure instead of behaving according to the birthright of the living light of creation, which will attune one to balancing within those creative forces and creating a state of tranquility and grounding into the knowledge of nature, where everything of natural organic vibrations can be utilized for one's daily life instead of all of the synthetic sludge that we are now financially supporting. So, in other words, where the minds of mankind have been educated to is a very degraded form and view, perspective of the organic reality of this creation, which means that society spends their day performing acts that slowly destroy the Creator by destroying the creation lowering the vibration of the totality of creation, making it much harder for people, for the beings of creation to achieve those states of bliss. Luckily, for each person that does, it tremendously amplifies it for everyone else. It makes it easier because contrary to popular belief, people are all connected through this creation. Creation is connected through the creation, whether it's through the harmonic resonance of the earth, through the harmonic resonances of consciousness, or through the harmonic resonances of genetic manifestation. You know, it's a trinity that all works together. So mankind's forced to generate acts every day that go against the creator, and they get paid for it, and then they take that money and they go financially support the institutions that are founded in destroying the creation. It's this horrible cycle that goes around, and it's all based in miseducation, false information, so people will not discover or remember who and what they are, so that we can restore the grace back to this living garden of light. So, I mean, ultimately, that's a way of putting the conflicts between heaven and earth, conflicts between heaven and hell, conflicts between mind, body, and soul. It's all taking place right now, and it's being completely missed because everyone's distracted trying to get the next dopamine fix, you know, from scrolling. And people can't even hardly communicate anymore, but they've connected themselves wirelessly through these devices. So people need to at least use those devices to fuel educating the journey within, find out what it's all about. You know, get you some Dr. Bruce Lipton, some Dr. Joe Dispenza, you know, some Matthew LaCroix, and some Billy Carson, and some, you know, just all those people. Get you some you know, Layla Martin, and it's all those folks that could touch on all these different angles of creation and the human vessel, and start tying it all back in together so that your psychology can start grasping the bigger picture that you've been denied. Because ultimately, it's your birthright, and you deserve your truth, the truth of your living light, your living connection to the Creator that is happening in the now, not in past regrets and not in future wants, but it's happening right now. And all it takes is to just get okay with yourself, and then you can start tapping in, rebuilding that foundation. Anyway, I'll let it go with that. Destination is almost reached. Hope everybody has a blessed day. And remember, it's up to you to keep your day blessed. You do that through the perspective that you choose with your free will. So, glass half empty or glass half full, it's a choice. You know what I'm saying? So keep your day blessed, in peace, within the one living light of this beautiful creation of all life. Later.